Welcome back to Half A Hot Rods. Today we're going to be working on Maverick's LS Swap R30 single cab square body dually pickup. A little while back he swapped some power window doors onto it because his brother had them and didn't want them, and they're pretty straight and solid and rust free. They had the mirrors on it that he wanted, so he didn't have to weld up any holes from the old mirrors. He ordered a upgrade relay kit so that the windows would go up and down faster and work the way they should. He didn't cut all the wiring out of the dash of the other truck, so he had to make his own. And now he's gone off to basic training, and we promised him we'd exercise it for him. And the other day, Wyatt was driving it and said he got smoke coming out of the dash when he rolled the window up.
There's a saying in England, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Or rolled it down. I think down because that's where it is. And then he said they quit working. So pulled it in the shop here. We're going to pull some wiring down and see if we can figure out what's going on and get it fixed for him. Here we go. Well, sure enough, they're not working. So hopefully it popped a fuse. I think the add-on relay kit gave us fuses under the hood, which really should have blown before we got smoke. There's what a good one looks like. Hopefully you can see that the little loop is solid all the way through. That one also looks good. So I just popped the top of the glove box out so I can see in here. I don't see anything that looks melty. This stuff with the new zip ties and wire loom is Maverick's work. Looks like he should have cleaned his glove box out before I dumped it. Anyway. What's that? That's not even plugged into anything. I wonder what that used to go to. There's for sure some hantavirus in here. I can smell it. Is that melty? No, just dirty. Melty? No, just dirty. Oh, that sounded bad. That plastic on the glove box doesn't like me leaning on it. I don't blame it. I wouldn't like me leaning on me either. Lucky for me, I'm super flexible. Nope. This will be fun when the clutch comes back and crushes my head. I don't see anything that looks wanky at all. Ooh, there's something. That's no bueno. Can you see that? That wire is bare. Okay, well, let's peel that back and see what it goes to. Oh yeah. Yep, there's been... What did he do? Did you run a zip tie through the old OBD port? Like, not around it, through it. You animal. Oh, is that another bare wire? Yep, sure as shit. Maverick? Trying to burn this thing down. Alright, yep, that one's been hot. Yep, we're going to go disconnect the battery right now. one, which negative. Made them both the same color so it wouldn't be too easy. Alright, now we should have no juice. Now, we can kind of get to the bottom of this guy. So I guess the first thing we got to figure out is where all this stuff goes. Oh yeah, it smells burnt. We got all kinds of bad things happening here. This is just hanging out. I don't know what it is. These are extra wires. Yeah, we're going to cut some zip ties, let some of that loose so we can see what we got. Cut the zip tie, not the wire. Don't make it worse. It's pretty bad already. This looks like it's been soldered and heat shrinked. That's a ground. Nope, not the one that's cooked. We've got all kinds of problems here. Yeah, that's bad. You can see that insulation on this white wire is now brown. So she's been hot. And I don't know if it's just from the other one being next to it or what. I feel like this one is not. Maybe this wire wasn't heavy enough. That's kind of what it looks like. I don't like the way he does his soldering. This wire just, it looks awful thin, and I don't know if it's because it's already burned or if it's just, that's how thin it's been. It burned clean through. And I'm guessing it just got the other ones hot around it, is what it looks like. The question is, why? And where's the other end? There's the other end. This pink wire. Which comes from where? Which is... What did you do?
What'd you do?
Get in there so you can see. This is the. You can see that wire's bare. It's burned all the insulation off. I think these two, it was just running parallel with them, tied to them for routing. But this guy runs up into this heavy pink power wire. Comes out of there, and then it comes over here and connects into the door harness, the window harness. I don't know if that wire was just too light, or there was too much resistance, or it got rubbed against something and arced. I don't know. Let's see if I can figure out where that pink wire is coming from under the hood, because this really should have popped a fuse if it was hooked up the way it ought to be. That's the fuse's job. I think that's coming out of the back of the fuse block. I wasn't helping Maverick with this project other than giving him a little input here and there. So I don't know exactly where everything is or what it all should be. I'll grab a test light and see if that is indeed hot. Sure enough, that's a hot circuit going to that bare wire. Okay, That's where we're getting power from, and it's only with the key on. But looks like we got it on the wrong side of the fuse, or we would have just popped a fuse when whatever happened happened. So we will not be using that same place for our power source. We'll figure something else out. Yeah, I don't like that at all. I think probably the wire he had between the two was too light. And we may have a power window switch sticking, which is not helping his situation. So between the two of those, that's probably what caused our little melty, smoky, let all the magic smoke out. Burn that wire right in two. So, yeah, we were on the verge of a fire. I guess we'll get this. I got to get that one out so I can get it wrapped up and insulated good again. Then we'll find a new power source for that wire. Wire it back in on the correct side of the fuse and hope for the best. Just to be clear, your finger shouldn't look like that when you're working on electrical wiring. That's not good. Oh, Maverick. It's funny, he told me how much he hates wiring. Wait till I tell him he almost burned his truck down. Then he'll really hate it. Now you can see that wire. That's where he was tapped in, and it was soldered and everything. It was taped, which isn't ideal. But we're gonna nip the sharp edges off from that other wire and wrap it up good again. And if we don't do anything stupid with it, it shouldn't be an issue. So probably the right thing to do here is cut it apart, strip it back, resolder it, heat shrink it. My problem is I think I'm going to run out of slack in this wire in order to get all that done. And it's going to be very difficult for me to get in here and get this cinched up tight and everything to fit the way it should. I think we're better off, since that's still a pretty good solid connection, just rewrapping it, taking the heat source out, which is that little wire, and then just wrapping it up, and it should be fine. So that's what we're going to do. I'm afraid we're going to run out of length of wire to get done what we need done if we go the other way. Need 3 hands in here where there's room for none. I still can't believe he ran a zip tie through the old OBD2 or OBD1 or OBD. You know, the OBDs. Do some poking around under the hood here and see what I see. That didn't really help me at all. I think the yuck on these other wires is just because this one got hot and it was close to them. So I'm not going to worry too much about them right away. This is always the fun part when you're adding something that's in this old stuff that's electronic, is figuring out where to get your power from. Or at least it's always the fun part for me, because I can't hardly see under here. I know you shouldn't just jam a wire into the fuse holder. I've done it, but that's not what you're supposed to do. So he's got power wires running straight to the battery for this upgrade relay kit, but they're going to have power all the time. And you want to have key on power to energize everything, so that if you do have a problem when you turn your key off, those relays are no longer energized. I think. Let's take a break, do a little research. Okay, I think I figured out a solution. Probably not the right way to do it, but I figured out a way to do it. So I'm digging around under the hood here, and I find this blue and green 2-wire connector just laying here. Has not been used for anything since the LS swap. Tested these 2 pieces. I get 12 volts with key on one of them. I think it's the blue one. And I went inside, looked for blue and green. Found them tucked up under the clutch pedal up there. And then this guy was plugged into them. So I unplugged that. Look at it right now. Key is off. We got no juice. Key on. We get juice. And that should be a fused circuit. So my next step is going to be to check fuses, make sure I do have a fuse for that, because I don't want the same problem again. And we'll run it that way. It's the cruise control circuit. The reason I know that is because I've got this old book. Again, not exactly the right one, but close enough. 93 and earlier, these are all the TBI trucks, which is what this one was, even though it's not an OBS truck, which is what this book is for. And I went in here, the electrical section cruise control switch, dark blue, dark green come out together and go under the hood of the cruise control module, which is obviously no longer there because we did the LS swap. So I'm reasonably certain we won't be needing that power feed for cruise control. So now we're going to make sure that we're fused before I go any further. And then we'll just put a spade connector on and plug it in there and solder it on the other end to our wire that's been a little warm. And then hopefully his windows will work. And I already checked the cruise control switch doesn't change whether we have power or not. Would have been funny if he had to push the accelerate button or the set button and the window switch button at the same time to do anything. And honestly, if I'd have figured out how to do it, I might have, but I'm just not going to do that to him. Not yet. The book is not helping me, so what I'm going to do is hook up to that connection my test light. And then I'm just going to start pulling fuses until the power goes away. And we'll just hope it's not the last fuse in the fuse box before I get the one that I'm searching for. Ouch! I hope I don't smash my fingers on every single one like I did on that one. That wasn't the right fuse, I just knocked the clamp off. This will sure make you appreciate the new trucks that have them under the hood. Oh, there it is, turning back up. It makes sense, because that's the turn signal switch too. Okay, it's only a 15 amp fuse. So with a 15 amp fuse, that should pop before we have enough juice to make a fire. Cool. So I've been over here looking for a spade connector because I don't really want to cut the end off of that guy, and I would like Maverick to be able to change it easily and not have to buy a new connector for anything. And naturally, that's the only thing I don't have in my toolbox. I've got one spade connector on a piece of wire that I'm not sure is heavy enough. Might just peel the other end off this and see how heavy it is. It's actually probably heavy enough. So I should make sure this will fit that fitting. Oh yeah, that fits nice in there. Yeah? What? once again, as normal with me, this isn't the right way to do this. But using this saves me a 40-minute trip into town. For the heat shrink, this little guy will work. But if your wife makes the, what's it called? Creme brulee. She's got the little torch that you heat up the top. That works even better. But don't get caught taking that. Will not end well. Alright. Now we got to trim back what Maverick did in there. Oh, what now? So now we'll go back in there, cut into the wiring that Maverick did. We'll probably solder this, heat shrink it, and then it should hopefully be good because it'll be on a fuse circuit for key-on power. It'll have the 2 fuse circuits for battery power. And hopefully that's good. We shall see. The right stuff. Alright, let's find some solder. So when Maverick soldered these, he just put the 2 wires together side by side and twisted them together and then soldered it, which is okay, I guess. I don't prefer it. I'd rather spread them all out like that and then join them together and then twist them and then solder them. I've seen on the interwebs where people have done it both ways. I'm relatively new to soldering things, and that seems pretty secure, and it's worked on everything I've done it on. Done 2 LS harnesses that way. And knock on wood, they've, well, one made it all the way to the end of the life of the truck, which was, you know, too soon. Thanks, Maverick. But the other one's still hanging in there too, so we'll let him do it his way and I'll do it my way. I'm going to throw a rag over that brake pedal. That way if I drip solder, it just falls on the rag and catches fire, and I can throw the fire out of the truck. And the soldering, I'm not going to tell you how to do that because I don't want to tell you wrong. I mean, basically you're heating the wire up and the solder up and just melting it in there. And certainly there are people that know more about it than me that have made videos and can tell you all the ins and outs and get you the best results. Like I say, mine have been good enough for my purposes, but I certainly wouldn't say I'm an expert. It's a lot easier to do if you can do it on a bench, which is how I did those wire harnesses. You could just do this with butt connectors. I have in the past. This, if you do it right, should be a better connection. If you do it the way I'm doing it, I don't know. I'm getting solder everywhere but on the rag that I put in here. Feels pretty strong. Just want to make sure I don't have any big chunks or wires poking out where I can't get my heat shrink across it. It's pretty strong. Let that cool a second. So now all we should have to do is plug this guy into this guy. I'll probably wrap that up with tape because it does have some exposed metal. Should be able to turn the key on. I don't know if you could hear that, but as soon as I turned the key on, the window started moving. I think this switch is boogered because this does not have automatic windows. So if you don't stop it, it wants to keep going. And I'm betting that's what happened in here was it was trying to keep going. If you've got a square body and you've got power windows, tell me that speed is not impressive. I'm sure if you're decent with electrical, you could build your own kit. This one was like $75 and all pre-wired and everything was connected and everything. That's slick and totally worth the money if you ask me.
Nobody asked.
Now let me gather up my tools. We'll lay them out and talk about what this job took to do and get this thing wrapped up. Okay, we got everything pretty much buttoned up on Maverick's truck. His tack wiring's still a little rough, but I know he wasn't done with that. Next order of business for this one's probably going to be pulling the heater box off and getting in there because it still smells a little mousy in there. Tools we use this time. Again, there's some stuff you absolutely need, some stuff you don't. Pretty minimal on this one. Soldering iron you don't necessarily have to have. You could use these butt connectors, and I've done that before and it's been fine. You can even get these butt connectors that have heat shrink on them, so that makes them a little more solid. Soldering iron you probably pick up for like $15. Heat shrink tube is pretty cheap. A lighter or your wife's kitchen creme brulee torch thing. Test light makes things pretty handy. Before I had a test light, I actually made one out of an old turn signal circuit I took off an old truck that was getting scrapped and just put clamps on the end of it and used the light bulb from that. This is just a jumper wire that made it easier to connect to the test light, so I didn't need 4 hands to hold everything. Crescent wrench, ratchet. This little guy makes things nice but not necessary. Some basic sockets, some side cutters, dikes, whatever you call them. Needle nose pliers for pulling fuses. Wire strippers, you can get cheap ones. These ones aren't super expensive. You can do everything with this. Cut, strip, crimp. I love these things, which were also not terribly expensive. I want to say they were like $9 because it'll grab and then strip the wire in one shot, and that's just fascinating to me. Some zip ties to tie all the wires back up so we don't step on them and rip them out. The Haynes manual, like I said, this technically isn't the right one for this truck because you can see that's a OBS truck. But for what we were doing, because it was engine related, the wiring is, it was close enough because these OBS trucks had the TBI engines in them just like this one used to have. So altogether, if I had to go out and buy, wire and connectors and stuff, I'd probably have $20 in this. And I bet we're a couple hours into it. I got some interruptions and had to go rescue a cat, and yeah, there was a whole thing in the middle there that you didn't get to see, and it's okay because you didn't want to see it. But yeah, we're probably a couple hours in, about $20 worth of stuff, and just took my time, poked around in there till I found it. We used a factory circuit that is now fused, so what happened before shouldn't happen again. That fuse should pop before 12 or 18 inches of wire burns completely all the insulation off it. So wasn't too big of a job, just takes some time to go through and try and make it right. So if you like what we're doing, like, comment, subscribe. If you got better ways to do it, please tell me. I'm all ears. I'm still learning every day. I'm asking people, how did you do this? How did you do that? I'm Googling it. I'm looking it up on YouTube. Everything I know, I learned from somebody else. So if you got something to teach me, let's have it. Until next time, remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.